Start your week with a win at WebCME. The Wound Information Network's sunny side up topic is healing the soul. Dr. Bhupendra Katre is the founding medical director of one of the largest multiple sclerosis centers in the United States, the Center for Neurological Disorders in Milwaukee. He maintains an active practice caring for over 4,000 patients. He has published over 65 papers in peer-reviewed journals and is now the author of a book entitled Healing the Soul: Unexpected Stories of Courage, Hope, and the Power of the Mind. I've had the pleasure of reviewing and reading this book, and it is fascinating. It is filled with stories of courage, inexplicable medical miracles, and physician struggles with the changes in the practice of medicine. I'm very pleased to be here with Dr. Katre. Bhupendra, thank you so much for joining us on WIN.
Thank you so much.
Tell me a little bit about the title, Healing the Soul. Why did you decide to write this, and why pick that title?
I was caring for a young MS patient, multiple sclerosis patient, and she had a very bad attack which was affecting the base of the brain, and she was paralyzed from the neck down, and she was on a respirator.
That's tough.
And she couldn't talk, she couldn't move any of the extremities, just completely paralyzed. And we started taking care of her in the ICU, and she was in the ICU for about like 2 months. And we did everything possible, but she was not getting any better.
Sure.
And after 2 months, I sat down with her and I said, Rita, this is perhaps the way you're going to lead your life, but in the event your heart should stop, do you want us to resuscitate or let the nature take its course?
Right.
And she picked the alphabets from the board and said that she wanted a heart and a lung transplant if that happened. And so we knew that she was not ready to die.
Sure.
And we started taking care of her. One day I was driving home and I kept looking at her eyes. And for some reason I got off the expressway and went back to the room to Rita. And I took her hand and I said, Rita, are you afraid to die? And she said yes. And I said, do you mind if I call the priest? And I work at a Catholic hospital at St. Francis. And she said, sure. And the priest was there in the hospital. I called him and explained to him what was going on. And he said, Doctor, go home. I'll talk to Rita. And he did. He called me at about 8 o'clock at night. And he said he had a long talk with Rita and she's at peace. And I said, okay. At 10 p.m., the nurse called me. And he said, Rita passed away in her sleep. And I couldn't sleep much that night. I said, you know, as a physician, I was trying to heal her body, her physical being, but I neglected to heal her soul, which the priest was able to do.
Wow.
And that's the title, Healing the Soul.
Healing the Soul. Because
I think as physicians, we cannot cure, but we can heal the soul.
That's fabulous. That's a great title. You know, I really enjoyed the book, and certainly the patient stories were absolutely phenomenal. But there were other parts of the book that I found fascinating as well. You know, you've suggested in your book that the art and profession of medicine is changing, and new physicians are guided more by technology than traditional medical practices. Can you comment real briefly on that?
Sure. You know, with the advances in technology, it has affected our field as well. And we rely quite heavily on computers to the point where now physicians are mandated by the government to use the computer to put in their history, the medical exam and everything.
Sure.
And what's happening is that the physician is taking the computer to the room, and the computer is now in between the patient and the physician. And we neglect to really pay focus on the patient. We're so much busy putting in data on the computer that we're losing the touch. And I think that's what I meant by the fact that it's affecting the way we practice medicine. Because you know, medicine is, you have to look at the patient.
Sure.
You have to examine them.
Very important.
And you have to listen to them.
Right.
And if you don't do that, you're not going to come to the cause of the problem.
No,
And
I
you may
couldn't.
not effectively treat the patient.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree. Well, the book has been, widely acclaimed. In fact, has been awarded just a seal of approval, a winning
Yes, sir.
award here. And there have been numerous individuals that have commented very positive. Dr. Perry has been quoted as, "This book should be required reading for all physicians in training." And he certainly plans to give a copy to his daughter as she embarks on her medical career. Those comments I think are right on target, and I certainly would encourage everyone in our audience to pick up a copy. It's available on Amazon as well as on your website. And again, I want to congratulate you on this excellent book, and thank you so much for joining us on WIN.
Thank you so much for having me here.
This is a fabulous book, Healing the Soul. I encourage all of you to get and read a copy. You'll be happy you did. Thanks for joining us, and have a great week.